Crowhill here. Today we review a Pilsner and discuss teenagers. Well, good evening, Pigweed.
Well, good evening. Well, how about some beer and conversation?
That's a fantastic idea. What are we drinking?
A Pilsner of some sort.
Okay, very good.
So, what's on your mind?
Well, you know, I've realized, I don't know if you heard that theory that the timeline of history isn't exactly right, and we think that, you know, like Jesus was born 2,000 years ago. It was really only like 8. Have you heard that theory where everything is more compressed?
There's like 400 years of missing time or something?
Yeah. You've heard that theory?
Yeah.
Well, see, I have an analogous theory.
Okay.
That in the past, people were born, and they grew up, and they got to about age 12,
Yeah.
and then they just jumped to age 20.
Yeah. There were no teenagers.
There were no teenagers. But
No.
they got to 12. They never got to 13, 14. All that didn't happen. They just went straight from 12 to 20.
And then in the 20th century, we invented teenagers.
Yes, exactly. And somehow or other, the whole, like, we counted differently or something.
And now, right. And now everything revolves around people that didn't even exist.
Didn't even exist in the past.
And now they're running the...
And now it's
running our
everywhere.
economies and everything else.
I don't understand it. Okay.
All right.
Well, let's get into this. This is Small Craft Warning Imperial Pilsner.
Oh, Imperial Pilsner.
By Heavy Seas.
So, a Pilsner, let's back it up here. A
Yeah.
Pilsner is a
lager, first of all.
It's a light lager, and it when it came on the scene, it just took over all other beer types.
So Pilsner comes from Pilsen, Czechoslovakia.
Right.
And it was a lager, and it used noble hops, the hops that were, you know, what were used in that area of the world. And generally speaking, light, crisp, light in color, very, very crisp hop flavor, and refreshing.
Right.
Yeah. And it has a distinctive flavor. Like a Pilsner is different from other lagers that might be just as light, same alcohol, same malt characteristic. But the Pilsner has a distinctive flavor to it. And it's very good. Like Pilsner Urquell is just fantastic.
And usually coming in the low fours. And so
Yes.
The BMCs, the Bud Miller Coors that we know in America,
Our Pilsner style.
yes,
Yeah.
there are variations on that.
Yeah.
Same idea. And that's really what when we think of beer, really you're thinking of a Pilsner.
Yes, usually, that's right. Usually when you think of beer, you're thinking of a Pilsner. So how does this stack up against that
Why is this a 7?
Right. And why does it not taste anything like?
So you have that crisp, when they say that crisp, clean finish, it's sort of like after you swallow, you don't really taste the beer anymore.
Yeah.
That's kind of how the Pilsner works, or
Yes.
how the lager works.
Yes.
What's going on here?
This beer is very different. First of all, I have to say, it's delicious. It's fantastic.
It's awesome.
But I just don't think the word Pilsner applies to this, because I'm not getting that crisp, noble hop flavor, and I'm not getting that clean finish. I'm getting a sticky, malty kind of a finish.
In a great way.
It's fantastic. I love it.
So we talked about the 4%ers.
Yeah.
It's a 7.
It's a 7, yeah.
And
it's a little darker. It's a little darker than the traditional Pilsner.
Right. So a little heavier on the malts.
Yeah.
It's really good. But if you just plopped it in front of me and said, "Tell me the beer style,"
yeah, I wouldn't have said Pilsner by any chance.
No, it'd be an ale of some sort.
Yeah, I'd probably say ale, because it has more of that fruity kind of character to it. So this is one of those situations where I love the beer, I just don't like the branding.
A nice front hoppy bite.
Yeah.
In that Pilsner world, it's a very balanced, low hop situation, but anyway, great beer.
Great beer. Just don't call it an Imperial Pilsner. Call it something else. Yeah, I don't like that. Okay, so teenagers.
So I don't know when it occurred to me, or when it came to my attention, that it's really a rather new development in the way you characterize it. It's like what kids weren't. Nobody was alive from 13 to 17? I mean, what were we doing? It's just that we didn't have a category for them, which seems, in our modern minds,
Kind of weird.
Kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what did you call these people? Like, what do you mean? What did we call these people? They were people. They just didn't get defined. I've got here though. I have a term. So you use teenager, adolescence, from the Latin. I don't know what that is. Has been used since the Renaissance and was developed as a scientific life stage by Mr. Stanley Hall of the late 19th, 20th century, framed as a distinct developmental phase. But,
okay.
So
and people
now
have been going through puberty forever, so we've got that.
We have known about that. We have known about the time that a woman could not have a baby, and then she could.
Yes.
But at that point you just jump straight into womanhood.
Yes.
Right? I mean, like, you're now of childbearing age and really physically probably prime.
Yes.
I mean, actually, maybe after you fill out a little bit, so not necessarily at 12 or 13.
How old was Juliet?
Yeah, I don't know, 13 or 14?
She was just almost 14. She was 13.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, just
that was the time when you're about to become a woman and it's about the time to get married. So Solon, the Greek guy, divided life into stages of 7 years.
All right.
Okay? And Shakespeare divided things into schoolboy, lover, soldier as phases of somebody growing up. So people did divide phases of life into different things, but teenager is a completely different kind of a concept because it's not just a phase of life you're going through. It's like a movement. It's like a cultural phenomenon. It's a very different thing.
Right. So I got the word appears in print around the 1910s, but only became widespread after World War II.
Yeah.
The modern cultural category emerged in mid 20th century. As schooling, labor laws, and marketing created a prolonged, recognized in-between stage.
Right. And I think a couple things are key. One is the getting rid of child labor laws.
Yes.
Because
right.
it used to be.
It's like, all right, so you learn, you know how to read and write. You're 10.
Yeah. Go work in the factory.
Go work in the factory for 14 hours.
Right.
And now you're working dangerous work. You're getting a wage, 5 cents a week, whatever. But you're doing adult stuff,
and you're doing this to support the family.
Yeah, right. So you're contributing to, or if you lived on a farm, you're basically working as soon as you're old enough to walk. You go out and get eggs.
Exactly.
You're
right.
5 years old,
That's
right?
Yes.
So there's not like, now that you're of a certain age, it's time. It's now 16.
Now you get to sit around on the Atari all
16
day.
or 16, you're allowed to work. Like, what?
Yeah.
You've been working
your whole life.
You don't remember ever not working.
Yes. So child labor laws were a huge part of this.
Yeah.
Compulsory education was a huge part of this.
Right.
But then the concept of kind of warehousing people together by their age group. Because if you think about way back in the old days, you have a one-room schoolhouse where in the same schoolroom, you've got 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, right? They're all lumped together. It's more like swim team. You've got all these different ages together, where in the modern educational system, you're lumping people together by age. So now you've got all these people of a certain age in high school years all lumped together. Mm-hmm. And they don't have to work. And because of the prosperity that we had in the 40s and the 50s, they have disposable income. So it creates a completely different environment that has never existed anywhere in the world.
No, and culturally, like entertainment-wise, or whatever, you look. If you think about like the 40s, they weren't marketed at
teenagers until. In the 40s
so
and
you've
50s,
got back then you've got your Humphrey Bogart movies and because our adult movies are now filthy.
Yeah.
Back then, an adult movie, and anybody could go see an adult movie.
Yeah.
The Maltese Falcon, adult themed movie.
Well, they had standards.
You might not get it, but you're not everybody's cussing and humping.
Hollywood had pretty strict standards about what could be shown, and those standards all went away, unfortunately. But so you wouldn't market to teens because they weren't an identifiable group, and they didn't have any money.
Yeah.
But then suddenly they became an identifiable group, and they had disposable income, and they were kind of a social force, where they're developing their own culture. You have all these kids together.
In automobiles.
Exactly. They can drive. They're and it's also, in a way, the whole teenager concept is driving a wedge between teenagers and family.
Yeah.
Because it used to be that, you grew up, you were a kid, you grew up, and then
you're part of the family.
You're part of the family the whole time. You're contributing to the family, and then you become a responsible adult, and you're still part of the family, but there's just this transition from childhood into adulthood. Okay. But what's happening with the whole teenager phenomenon is you're creating this peer culture of all these teens together, kind of going their own way, celebrating rebellion and their own way of doing things, separate from their family.
Yeah, hold on. Can I back it up a little bit?
Yeah.
One of the things that got me thinking about this was like Master and Commander.
Okay, yeah.
So can you go back to Children in War, which is, it's just nuts.
A horrifying thought nowadays. But there were 13-year-olds.
So standard.
Yeah. So we read Billy Budd a while ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember how old he was? I don't remember, but there were kids on ships.
When you see any of these old movies, you have like our idea of midshipmen are people who have already graduated
high school. That's right.
Yeah. Back then, midshipman was a 13-year-old.
Yes.
And so he's on a ship, and it's during war, and you've got. So this is this Heavy Seas beer that we're drinking right now.
Yeah.
They make a delicious beer called a Powder Monkey.
Okay.
Because there has all of these seafaring piratey themes to it. But what's a Powder Monkey? Well, it's up to find out. He's that kid, always a kid, who runs back and forth because young boys, 10 to 15, carried gunpowder from the ship magazines to naval guns during the Age of Sail. So there are all of these roles, ba-dum-bum-bum-bum. That drummer boy, he's just not in parades.
Yeah.
He's actually on the battlefield. I don't know.
On the battlefield, relatively near the front.
Near the flag guy.
That's right.
Who is also probably a youngster.
Yes.
Who is like the most. He's just saying, "I'm unarmed. Please kill me." And buglers. The page, the squire, the guy who just kind of ran alongside.
But the thing that gets me, and these are all great examples, like the Powder Monkey. I didn't realize the Powder Monkey was a kid. But the thing that gets me is you had officers of the watch on a naval ship who were 14.
Yeah.
And they have enormous responsibility. They have to make sure they're in charge of all these other people. They're commanders. They're officers. They're telling other people what to do. They have responsibility to the captain. This is not the kind of thing that a modern 13-year-old could do.
They can't even mow the lawn.
I know, exactly.
But yeah, this was just sort of understood that this is, we're always at war because this is Europe and this is what we do. And you might as well get started sooner than later, and get yourself prepared. So, the guys running messages, buglers. These are all roles for what we would consider children. Can you imagine just like 13 years old? You've already had 3 years. You're a 3-year veteran of war. And you're 13. You're 13.
Well, if you watch like a movie adaptation of a Charles Dickens novel, and you see these kids, they're 11, and they're wearing grown-up clothes, like shortened up versions of grown-up clothes, running around doing things, acting like adults. Sometimes they're drinking beer and smoking cigars. They're 11 years old, and it was a completely different attitude towards childhood and becoming
and moving up a little bit. Well, we recently read some Louis L'Amour.
Yeah.
And, there's like a farmhand who's 17 already feeling like, when's he going to get his shot at... Can you imagine building a house, running a ranch?
Yeah.
In this fictitious thing, he'd already killed 6 people and been shot a number of times.
That's right.
And he was like all pissed that, that some other kid was going to get more advantages when he felt like he's 7, he's ready to settle down.
Yeah.
He needs a woman and some land, and he's going to... What?
And what? honestly, when we were growing up, back in the 1840s,
yes, right.
When we were growing up, when I was 17, I felt like I was ready to be an adult and take on adult responsibility.
Right.
I think kids, there's been a transition. First, there was the transition in the 40s of kind of identifying teen culture and separating out teen culture. And as time went along, I think...
let's work our way up. So then we've got the first teen-focused films.
Okay.
Were in the 50s. When this identifies the Blackboard Jungle.
Okay.
Juvenile delinquency drama with a rock and roll soundtrack.
Yeah.
I want to talk about rock and roll.
Yeah.
And youth themes directed at teen audiences. Then you had Rebel Without a Cause.
Yes.
I'm thinking that James Dean might be the first teen movie heartthrob.
Was he before Elvis?
Yeah, well, here we go. Rock Around the Clock is 1956.
Okay.
Blackboard Jungle, and then Jailhouse Rock is 1957.
Okay.
So here now you're getting between the movies, like we said before. Like before, it was just adult movies were for everybody.
Yeah.
Thematically.
But now it's blue jeans, leather jacket, cigarette, car, and that's the teen.
And now you have music that the teens are listening to.
Yeah.
And I think that parents did that. The Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra is now being a little bit distanced.
Yeah.
And I think the first terms of the generation gap, where you're not listening, kids these days listening to this. So I'm sure they've always said kids these days, but culturally,
yes. And this is the first time that the kids could go out and buy their own music because they had money to do that. Yeah. They weren't taking all their money and contributing into the family pot to buy another chicken. They were.
Right. You're right. You could work at the gas station making
making your 5 cents an hour or whatever the heck it was.
But that was enough to put gas in the car.
Then you'd go out and you'd buy a record, and this was your music, not your parents' music, and you were more influenced by your peers, who were all a bunch of teenagers with you. So there's the group think, there's the fitting in with your other people in your class.
You're right. You're like you're saying, you're being grouped together. You've got spare time. You're not all out, working in factories and or on the
fields,
farm,
right? Yeah.
And so so you're being more influenced by your peers than your parents.
Yes. And there's, to some extent, there's a drive away from the parents because now your idols are the people you choose. James Dean or Elvis Presley or later on the Beatles. So you're looking up to a different set of leaders than you would have had if you were with your parents.
And that goes through the times, the ancient times when we were teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little something going on lately about teenagers. And by lately, I mean, say the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. Where now,
they don't even want to drive. Can you believe that?
That's totally true.
I know. So in our generation, of course, you wanted to get your driver's license.
15 and a half. You're sitting there going, Mom, Dad.
I wanted my driver's license right now, So nowadays, kids don't even want to drive. They don't want to get jobs. They don't want to get married. What in the heck is going on? It's so foreign to the way it was when we were growing up.
Yeah, so kids... Then now we're almost like creating, or we're stretching teen beyond the word teen. So
Yes.
8, 18, 19 is supposed to be the end of that, especially, or 18 really means
You're an adult.
Technically an adult.
Right.
And now we've got the prolonged adolescence, which is what college has kind of turned into.
Yes.
Now
I wouldn't even call it prolonged adolescence. I'd call it prolonged childhood. You have these people in college who like need cry rooms, and they need to have coloring books because there are
safe spaces
because somebody said something that they don't like. But yeah, so what we've done.
All right. So now we're up to the last 10 years.
Right. So what happened was we created this totally new thing of teenagers who were more influenced by their peer group and by their own internal culture than they were by their family or their community. And here's another little twist on this. To some extent, this was part of the U.S.-Soviet conflict. Is we were promoting this concept of look what America looks like. And we were pointing to teen culture as, rebellious and sexy and free and driving around in cars, rock and roll, all that stuff. We're saying this is America.
Look at you guys.
Losers. Yeah, you're over there eating potato soup and
you're wearing gray clothes,
wearing terrible stuff. Right. Yeah. So it was, to some extent, it was a
CIA psyop.
Well, I didn't want to go there, but I mean, there is some of that going on. But it is a.
Look how cool and youthful and
part of the whole
looking
image.
and
the whole image of America was because
cool cars and pretty chicks.
The same thing didn't happen in England. The teen boom happened later in England than it happened in the United States, and part of that was because the United States was unharmed by World War II. None of our factories were bombed.
Right.
We lost a lot of people, but none of our...
No. London, yeah, we didn't get V2 bombed.
Exactly, yeah. So the prosperity that the United States experienced after World War II was contributed to this culture of teens being able to do whatever they wanted.
Also, this... You lived through a pretty harsh time. I mean, I guess I'm saying you grew up fast, like this languishing prosperity. I mean, I guess by the 40s, I don't know. But you still had the residual memory of being in wartime.
Yes,
which I'm sure made it less frivolous.
Yeah. So a lot of, I guess the bottom line is a lot of different cultural trends were all colliding right at this time. You had parents who had grown up in the Depression who now suddenly have a lot of money because there's all this prosperity. You have no child labor. You have teens together in high school. You have rock and roll music. You have all these things that are colliding to create this completely different.
And so sociologists sort of identified that this is a unique group unlike it's ever been. Not that, like you were saying in the beginning, it's not like there weren't human beings of these ages.
Yeah.
But the social circumstances didn't exist to define it in that way. And then came the psychologists.
Yes. Well, yes. More important, I think, than the psychologists were the marketers and the advertisers who identified this group as somebody. They had cash, they had leisure time, and they had their own worldview.
Yeah, and that's lasted and since then, it has become a Hollywood or whatever in everything.
Yes.
Oh, everything.
Yes.
Marketing group.
Yes, but you were talking about the psychologists. What about the psychologists?
So, well, when did we decide that juveniles? We drew a line and said they were not as responsible as adults and should not be punished in the same way as adults. I really don't know the history of punishment, but it has something to do with an underdeveloped brain and the fact that you're going to make dumb and rash decisions, and you're going to grow out of that.
Yeah.
And so let's not punish them for life at 12. If you make that same stupid mistake at 22,
Yeah.
you're going to be in big trouble, mister.
Yeah.
But right now we're going to give you a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
And
to some extent that becomes a self-fulfilling thing, because
Yeah.
to the extent that you require responsibility, you get responsibility. If somebody knows that there are going to be consequences for their actions, then they step up and they're responsible. And that's
they figure this out very quickly.
Yeah.
That well, what are they going to do to me?
Yeah.
I'm 17.
Yes.
But
So when
get
you're not
more of
required, when you're not required to grow up, you don't grow up.
But there is something on the other side about saying, yes, dumb people. There's the indiscretion of youth.
Yeah.
And you're making bad decisions, and giving you the same treatment at 12 as 22 really doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
So I get that, but
we went too far. It's a correct insight that teens are their brains aren't fully developed. All those things are true, but
don't say you don't know the difference between right and wrong.
Yes.
I think this is where you get to the problem. It's like, don't say that maybe you have less because you're impulsive. You have less of a recognition of what the consequences of your actions are,
but not know, and not know recognition.
Yeah,
and there were 13-year-olds on British ships with plenty of responsibility. So
exactly.
This whole idea that you can't be responsible when you're 13, 14, 15.
You got night watch, you're in this crow's nest overnight.
And it's your responsibility to get up on time. It's your responsibility to do all these things.
You're going to get lashes just like any other derelict sailor.
That's right.
But then we heard about, well, the brain isn't fully developed until 25. I don't know who decided 25. I don't know. But what does that mean? Are we going to extend not having responsibility for my actions till 25?
Yeah. I think the brain isn't fully developed until about 60.
Oh, yeah. But you can't just start drawing consequences there. So if we're calling you an adult, if you're going to war, the idea that you can't anticipate the consequences. You don't know that you know that if you get caught, you're going to get a whooping. I
certainly knew consequences to my actions back when I was 13.
I know.
I mean, come on. You knew it was going to happen.
And then when I saw Pajama Boy during Obamacare, in his parents' basement with full footy jammies on, going, young children, referring to a 27-year-old, children should be able to stay on their parents' insurance until 27. Has created that, and then economic circumstances and inflation, and I don't know what else. But now this adolescence has turned into prolonged adolescence. Has turned into gaming all night at 33.
Right. Hey, one thing I forgot to mention. We talked about the Time magazine bringing up did we talk about this?
No, we did. So this was, what was it?
1944.
Life magazine.
Yeah, Life magazine. Yes, 1944. And it was a photo essay titled Sub-Debs. Now, what do you think Sub-Debs means? Sub-Debs. What's a deb?
I don't know. Debutante?
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Points to Pigweed. So, yes, sub-debutante, because a debutante was someone who was of age, like a young lady when she turned 16 or 18 or whatever, was now out in society.
Subs.
These are sub-debutantes. So they're 14, 15.
So this was, it was like a suburb of St. Louis?
I thought it was in Detroit. But
I think it was Missouri, and it was like they followed around a group of teens and took pictures and watched what they talked about and whatever, and then this became a Life magazine story. And I think at the time they were still teenager was hyphenated.
Yes.
And then I think that term started to really catch on in popular culture. And
that's right.
They dropped the hyphen.
That's when the word started to get around. Yeah, but it was the first time that this culture was really highlighted and brought in front of everybody. So it exploded in the 50s, and it created a peer-focused culture rather than a family or community-focused culture. And I think that is just a huge change.
Yep.
Yeah. So what's the consequence of all this? What have we reaped from this change?
Did they have it right? Giving the kids a little more space, have it right, or is it just simply a matter of circumstances? The way that society is structured has created this middle ground, and
well, I don't know.
Managed?
Did we have to put teenagers all together in a high school? Did we have to do that? Like even if you assume no child labor and universal education up to 17 or whatever, does that mean that you have to put 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds all together in one place?
But so are you saying that maybe the one-room schoolhouse where you had first graders to 10th graders all in the same place, and and they're respecting each other's spaces, and the older kids are looking after the younger kids, is not really...
I'm not sure.
Grouping them as
see, I'm not sure it's as efficient, because obviously a teacher, when we were in high school, you had a teacher who could specialize in chemistry, and they were pretty smart about chemistry, and that was a big benefit. Where if you have the one-room schoolhouse, that teacher has to know everything, and they can't know all those topics
but those kids are still like read Shakespeare,
I know.
Learned Latin or something, and now we have remedial English in college.
Yes.
So I'm not sure what's going on there.
So I don't know to what extent I would say that it was inevitable that we created this culture, or it was a choice that we made.
We also made, I guess, probably marketing and buying power.
Yeah.
We give. Now they're driving the bus.
Yes.
Like the culture is always trying to be youthful, rather than asking the youth to be more adult-like.
I know. Yeah, exactly. It's almost
we're celebrating this youthfulness to the point where that's why Madonna is still prancing around on stage at 75,
pretending to be a young person. Yeah, we do have a worship of youth, and that's to some extent that's always been true. Remember in school we were learning about Ponce de Leon going after the fountain of youth and all that kind of. So there's always been
but culture wasn't driven by what did the youth want.
Yes, exactly. There was the sense of adults rule, and they set the agenda. And we've changed that.
Yeah,
we've changed that.
And parents becoming buddies instead of being the disciplinarians,
right.
And this is all turned on. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad we don't have 12-year-old powder monkeys and kids marching off into war.
Yes.
Veterans at 14. That's good.
Yeah.
And or their arms chopped off in some industrial accident.
Right. There's obviously been huge advantages and progress, but this idea of idolizing that time frame, 14 to 17 or something, and allowing them to have their own internal culture unattached from their parents and from the broader culture.
Yep.
That's maybe not so healthy. So there might be a better way to do this, where people in that age group aren't so isolated and so detached from the rest of society.
Yeah. Well, at least we have cell phones and social media. That should...
Oh, sure, that'll fix it.
I'm sure that's not contributing in any negative way.
No, not at all. Yeah.
All right. Well,
yes, we'll call
all
our
right,
buddy John Height and ask him about that.
Now that I brought up those two things, there's no reason to think this is getting any better.
No, there's not. Unfortunately, now do we have a positive thing? We like to try to end on a positive thing.
I mean, the kid. In many ways, yes, it's easy. It's easy as a curmudgeon to say where everything's gone wrong, but
there has actually been a movement recently among young men to be more conservative and family oriented. as kind of a reaction against a lot of the trends that we've seen. So, a lot of things in culture.
The kids who look at their pot smoking hippie parents
and say, boy, that was a mistake. Yeah, exactly. So a lot of things in society go up and down like a sine wave, and we might be on the cusp of things turning toward a little bit more sanity.
Yeah.
So let's hope for that.
All right, let's hope.
Oh, there we go. Cheers. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to like this video and share it with your friends.